Hi, everyone.
Hey,
We're back.
we are back.
If you guys didn't check it out already, we did do a new episode that is, coming out before this one, of course, but it was all about a book called Sacred Cow,
Mhm.
which if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. It's for anyone, whether you're a carnivore, standard American diet, vegan, vegetarian, whatever. It is really all about the case for better meat.
Yeah,
And kind of goes through a lot of different things
yeah.
on that topic. So go check that out if you haven't already.
That was a great episode. So today we've got some bit of a catching up episode to do, I guess. How do
Ooh.
you want to slice this cake, Nicole?
Well, I just want to let you know. So, like, during different days, I kind of hold on to different things. And my quote of the day that I just like woke up and I thought, and I don't know, like, no diss to Pamela Anderson. It's not about boobs, even though like I'm totally boobing out. Pregnancy, man, like it's one of the greatest things ever. Okay. But I was thinking about Pamela Anderson and how she had a natural birth, right? And like my quote of the day, like my motivation is like, if Pam Anderson could have a natural birth, I can have a natural birth. Okay. That is my quote of the day. And that's what I'm sticking to today.
Nice. I've
So
I've I've heard it is dare I say what easier said than done, but
yeah,
I think good.
I literally like, here's the thing. I have a messed up back, right? Like I have two discs that rub
Mhm.
against each other. And the thought of having a needle this big go into my back and potentially mess up my nerves. And also epidurals have fentanyl in them, which people don't know about,
Yeah.
which is a yikes. But anyways, the thought of having a needle like in my back and the potential of fucking up my back or messing up my back
Is motivating you basically.
is motivation enough.
That's
I don't
good.
want that in my back. Like
Yeah.
that, it's just like, no, I can't do that. Like
Mm.
I literally can't, is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
But anyways, I just want to mention that.
How you
One other
feel?
thing I
How are you feeling though? Like, well, what's because I don't think we've spoken for a while. Like,
oh
so
yeah.
how many weeks? What's the scenario? Are you still eating the
Oh
carbs?
God, I have an update for you on that.
What's the update?
Okay, so I'm almost 19 weeks. I'll be 19, or I guess by the time this comes out, I will be 19 weeks.
Yep.
Not much has changed. We had to like cancel our last appointment because Taylor had COVID, right? Um, so that's been, I guess, a little unnerving, is because you always do like a checkup of like urine, blood sample, check the baby, make sure everything's okay. So now we're going on like a month, and like since we haven't seen a doctor since like June 2nd
Hmm.
for the baby, which is like a really long time. I feel like, because you're supposed to go every 4 weeks. So that's the only thing that's a little nerve-wracking. Like I've definitely had some more like stretching pain on my lower abdomen.
Hmm.
And I did call my doctor because I was like, hey, like this is kind of aching. And he's like, welcome to pregnancy. Like, and I was
Probably,
asking my friends. Yeah.
probably gets that call like all the time. He's just like, oh
Yeah. I
gosh.
felt bad. I like waited 3 days before I called him though, because I was like, oh, but like, okay. But oh my God, the morning sickness, right? Like the nausea feeling. It's not actually throwing up, it's just the nauseated feeling. I threw away these prenatals because I found out that they were vegan.
Oh my word.
And that's like the one time I threw up was I took those. And there's just no absorption rate. There's no difference in taking them. And it's just such a freaking scam. Like I could just tell you right now, like just such a scam. Vegan prenatals. Okay. Like you need some, like, where does the vitamin
What
D like,
what
I
makes
don't
it
understand.
what makes it vegan? Is it
There's no animal products
there's
in it. And I'm like, if
okay,
there's no,
okay, I suppose
well,
yeah.
like I'm saying, like
Stupid
there's so
fish.
many ones that you only get from animals though. So how
Yeah.
are you getting like the full thing, like the
The full range
full,
of
yeah,
nutrients
if
that
there's no animals in it? Like that makes zero sense.
yeah. Yeah.
And then they still tasted like fish. So like riddle me that. Yeah, yeah. Trust
And
me. Me
and I
and
mean
me and the real
what the
foodology
fuck?
girl, Courtney Swan, we were like talking about this
Oh my
because
gosh.
it's like, what?
And I mean our last episode we were speaking about it. Like there's no ways that nutrients derived from plants there's no ways they are as bioavailable as animal-based products. So how can you it should be illegal to even market
I know.
it to the point where you think that that's the case, because it's not. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. And like organs are bad. I understand like if you eat mass amount of liver, right? Like you don't want to build up a vitamin A because
Mm.
your body has a harder time breaking it down, you
Yeah.
know? So there's like a literally like I take the minimum recommended dose while pregnant for vitamin A, so that I'm not over like because it just stores, like it gets stocked up. It's actually the same with alcohol and caffeine.
Hmm.
Like they'll get stocked up and they can be kind of potent.
And I
So that's
think
why some
baby and
people,
infants are very susceptible, specifically to
yeah.
vitamin A uh, intoxication.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, but I think it's also like the just the buildup because
Mm.
into your digestion's off, the way you're processing things slows down. So then it's just like sitting there
Mm.
and it's not processing through your body as it normally would.
Mm.
So I think that's like the biggest danger to like alcohol and the vitamin A that can like lead to issues. But it just weirds me out though, because I think of all the pregnant people in the history of the world who ate organ meats on a regular basis and had healthy babies, you know,
Mm.
before like, so just like, I don't know, there's just weird things. And I've already told you this, like, there's just weird things that kind of freak me out. Because I've had to eat carbs still in the morning. So I still am, I'm hoping it goes away. It's not as bad. But like yesterday, I tried to not eat anything, no carbs or anything in the morning. And then I started thinking about eggs. And I was like, oh, I'm going to cook some eggs. And I was thinking about it the more and more. I'm even getting a little nauseous thinking about it right now. But I thought about it more and more. And I literally, like, it made me like physically sick. Like, I did not feel well
Yeah.
thinking about it. And I was like, oh, crap.
Oh
And
no.
so then I had to like have, like, I just had like a piece of toast from like this organic, like, not sprouted, but what's the word? Just like organic bread, I
Fermented
guess.
or
Yeah,
sour,
like, I
like
don't,
sourdough or
and I don't even like sourdough that much. So I was like laughing. But my point to you is that I recently took a picture and I was in a bathing suit. And I actually like saw my leg and there was a dimple in my leg and like cellulite. I have never had cellulite in my entire life. Like, sure, I've had stretch marks,
mm.
or fat, of course. I've never had cellulite. So I was like freaking out. And I was like texting my sister and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I sent her a picture and she goes, those aren't your legs. And I was like, Michelle, those are my legs. Like, those are my actual freaking legs. I was like, what is happening? Like, I kind of had like because like it was so weird. I was like, is it from the carbs?
Mm.
Because the carbs are just being processed into that. And she goes, it looks like it's like, and maybe it's pregnancy. So just like hold on.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, if it's carbs, like I'm done. I rather throw up than like have my legs. My legs. So right now, my legs do not look like my legs. So I
Mm.
was looking it up, researching like pregnancy, cellulite, like what's the deal? Because that's a really weird thing to happen. And they were just saying how like your body won't process as well. So it'll
Mm.
like glob on things, like it will hold on like almost like fat deposits, which is like cellulite, in certain areas. And I was like, oh my
Oh
gosh. I was like,
gosh.
so is this why I always see pregnant women in midi dresses, like dresses below their knees? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never see a pregnant woman wearing short shorts, you know, and I like live in short shorts and bathing suits. You always see them with like their dress like right below their knee,
Hmm.
kind of, you know, like
Hmm.
which looks super cute. But like I'm like, what? So people are just hiding their cellulite when they're pregnant. And now I'm like, so anyways,
I suppose
um,
your body's going through like drastic changes. It's like I think it must be difficult for you. I know we've spoken about like, body dysmorphia and
yeah,
the situations that we've dealt with. So again, it must be very difficult. But yeah, it seems like your body knows what it's doing, and maybe that's just something that happens. I mean, I'm not an expert in carnivore pregnancies, so don't ask me.
yeah.
But yeah,
I, I don't, honestly, I don't know, but I do think that if you're eating carbs when you're pregnant, just a heads up, your body's probably going to glob onto those and that's going to turn into fat. Like, so I just
how
am really
many
excited.
grams do you think you're eating a day, if you had to guess, or if you've counted? just
So it's
for
probably
my
like one
interest.
or two, let's say, for example, it's like one or two slices of just like toast.
Mm,
I'd probably say it's about like 40 grams, 40 to 50 grams of carbs,
okay.
right? Um, per day of carbs. And again, like that's not a lot, but remember, like if you're starting first thing in the morning, it's like the worst thing that you can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I
We've
mean?
spoken
Like,
about, yeah, exactly. Because usually if you're going to have your carbs
yeah,
saved in for the evening or after you've trained.
exactly.
So exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm still, listen, I'm still weightlifting 4 to 5 times a week. Like that has not slowed down at all, just maybe doing abs. But
Mm,
the weird thing is like the cellulite in other places isn't there. Like
mm.
my abs, my like back, my arms, like it's just literally like back of my legs. So I
It's the
like,
craziest thing.
it's not happening everywhere. It's just happening in like one spot. So I'm like, damn, I had to buy like longer shorts or like, but yeah, I definitely think it's the pregnancy, but I
Hmm.
do think that having carbs first thing in the morning, I don't recommend to everyone because it really messes with how you're like starting and going into your day,
Mm,
you know?
mm, mm.
But yeah, I still weight lift and I still work out like normal. Like,
Are you still having the honey? That's what I would ask
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Okay. Do you not
Okay, so the
think,
honey is now
maybe the honey's causing it? I don't know.
mm,
Just not, no. Don't think so?
no, the amount that I use, like I would say like it's less than a tablespoon
Okay.
of honey. And like it makes me feel like it's like I don't know why, but you know when like you can sense that it's like carbs or like you can just sense that it's
Mm,
something.
mm.
That's like how I feel. Like I'm very like convinced at this point that once I stop eating carbs and go back to my normal carnivore, like it'll go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. And carbs, that includes honey though. Like everything,
You're like, I just
basically.
want to let you know. Like
No, well,
honey is a carb.
you never know. I mean, animal based, so but yeah, like you said, I
Yeah,
think it's a temporary thing, and once you get back on track, it'll be pretty easy. You know how to do
yeah,
it from here on out. Yeah.
totally. And I think I've also like, I don't know, people are really weird about people gaining weight or losing weight. Like I had a girl
Hmm.
um who was like, are you gaining enough? Like she kept making comments to me that I
What the
wasn't gaining
fuck is
enough,
that?
that I wasn't gaining enough
Oh my
weight.
god.
Do you know what I mean? Like she would make comments to me. It was like some pregnancy page. And she was like, "Oh, like I'm sure you'll gain more weight soon. Like I'll be thinking about you." And I'm like, I'm like, "What the get the fuck out of here." Like I don't like I like my weight, like I'm only supposed to gain 20 pounds. So if I gain like 8 pounds per like
Hmm.
um per the 3 trimesters,
Hmm.
then like I'll be almost at 30 pounds, which is over. So like I
Yeah.
think people were weirded out that I only gained like 5 pounds
But
during
also,
like my first trimester.
who
And
are
I'm
you
like,
to exactly? Who are you to? I think when I was actually looking at a photo of me from 2019 when I got really sick and I
and
lost
skinny,
and I got skinny. It's a scary photo. It's a photo. I'm gonna send it to you. It's a photo of me sitting on a
please do.
chair and my arm has got no muscle. My legs are skinny. I literally thought I had like AIDS or something back then. I was just freaked out.
Wait, please send me this picture
I'll
as soon.
send it to you. But people people didn't make it easy for me because I'd always been chubby, I'd always been fat, but then I lost all that weight and I got really sick. And then people used to come up to me and say, "Hey, like, what happened? Did you eat a tapeworm or like?" And it didn't make me feel very good, even though I've always wanted
No.
to be skinny and have abs. I felt I feel like the worst thing you can sort of, especially people that have struggled with food addiction or dysmorphia, the worst thing you can do is just comment on their appearance, especially their weight.
Yeah,
Like, that is not a very transformational way of going about things. Like, if you go to somebody and say,
totally.
"Hey, wow, you look like you've put on weight," or you don't. My point is, you don't know what that person has gone through and what that might trigger in them. So yeah, I think it's a very similar thing. It's like you just got to be careful about how you comment on people's appearance because to some people it means a lot, and it
Everything.
certainly affected
Yeah.
me. I felt ashamed. I was like, shit, like I'm losing all this weight. Like, what's wrong with me? And it was a
Yeah.
terrible feeling. I didn't enjoy it. So
Yeah. And it's just so funny because I'm like, dude, like I'm not super skinny. So like when people were like saying that comment, I was like,
should
get
have
the
sent
fuck.
it,
I was like,
send a
get
photo
the
of
fuck
your
out of here.
send a photo of your
Yeah.
cellulites and just be like, look.
No, yeah, that's like what I was thinking. Cause I was like, dude, like someone's trying to shame me for not gaining enough weight. And
Mhm.
I'm like very like
Yeah.
I'm definitely a filled out healthy woman. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I'm not like skin and bones or like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so I was like laughing. It just made me laugh. And I was like, hey girl, maybe you want to stop making comments on like how much weight I'm gaining, like when
Yeah.
I'm pregnant and how I'm not gaining enough. And I literally sent her a graph of like recommended weight gain on like BMI. And I was
You
like,
and
maybe you should
your
educate
social media
yourself.
fights.
No, I know. I was like, maybe you should educate yourself on like what the weight gain is for each people. Cause like then it's like the next time. But people were just freaking out because like my stomach wasn't showing yet.
Mm. Mm.
I'm like, dude, like my mom didn't show till she was like 8 months.
Yeah.
Like it's not like everyone should know. But I do think it's like so weird that like people want to comment on people's bodies.
Mm.
Like that's none of your business. And like it's also like why say something? It's not your life.
And make it
Like it's
seem
not your
like oh
body.
shame, I'm sure you will gain weight soon. It's like
Yes.
saying you've got a it's like a passive way of saying you got a
Oh
problem
my God, it was
basically. Like
so passive
oh
aggressive. It was like,
shame you.
oh, you'll gain weight soon. And I was like,
Yeah.
you keep repeating that. Like, I'm not really worried about gaining weight. Like, I got plenty of fat. I got plenty of, muscle
Yeah.
going. Like, I'm okay. But I just think it's so funny because I've had a lot of people tell me too, like from their pregnant, I have two friends who were very similar in their pregnancies. They worked out the whole time, ate like normal, didn't like give in and like gain 60 pounds and they're pregnant. Again, nothing wrong with that. But they were on like the side where they gained like 20, 25 pounds,
Mhm.
which is fine.
Yeah.
That's also, it's still healthy. And they just said that like people would not stop commenting that type of stuff, like
Yeah.
those passive aggressive type things where it's like, oh, I'm sure you'll gain more soon. Like, don't worry. Is the baby getting enough nutrients? And it's like, oh my God, like you're doing the same exact thing that
Yeah.
like you don't want to fat shame fat people. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like you're literally, anyways. So it's just so funny. And like the pregnancy community, I guess, like it was like
Mhm.
opening my eyes. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. Like you want to shame me for not gaining 60
Yeah.
pounds? Like
Yeah.
what? And it's like, I still got 2 trimesters to go. You don't know what the
Mm.
hell is gonna happen, you
Mhm.
know? So I just think just know that like there's a lot of women who don't gain a lot of weight and they do get that like shame on the other end of like not gaining enough weight
Mm.
when it's perfectly healthy. It's perfectly normal.
Yeah,
Like,
and your body, I still think your body knows what it's doing for the most
yeah,
part. So if you give it the right nutrients, even if you don't, your baby will still probably end up okay. Like my mom was
I
anorexic,
know,
she
right?
smoked, she drank, she didn't know she was pregnant, and I somehow turned out like
You
decent.
turned out
Okay.
beautiful.
Thank you so
Perfect.
much. So again, your body it really has wisdom and it knows what it's doing. So just trust it and yeah.
Yeah. There was one thing that did come up, and I do want to talk about. There's one other thing that I really want to get into, which has to do with the country that you're currently in.
Mm,
But one thing that I did want to tell you is that um there is like, well, I think we may have talked about this in the last one, but like you're very calm and like very even keel when you're pregnant, and it's almost like a defense or like survival mechanism.
mhm.
Just as the baby will take what it needs first and then the rest goes to you. And then also like when it's over, you just have to supplement like 200 calories extra a day as well. But I mean like just eating 200 calories more per day, that's not a lot. And then all the nutrients first go to the baby and then they go to you. So people can like relax about that. But you have also have like this hormone that's just like consistent. Like you're not
Mhm.
doing the up and down of like having your period, you know? So
Yeah.
like you literally are like so calm. And I think it's just like part of the DNA in our bodies when we're pregnant to like not be stressed or like panic or like
Mm.
go through a lot of different emotions. You're just very like
Because
straight line.
I would imagine that the stress and sort of impact of that has an effect on the fetus at the end of the day. Because if you constantly stressed or worried, or you got to think that's got to affect your baby in some way, shape, or form. So it really pays you to do everything in your power to remain calm and enjoy it, and
Yeah.
eat well, self-love, self-care, and things like that. And
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure that
know that
pays it
the movies are all like, the
backwards.
movies are out of their mind when they make pregnancy movies. Like every birth is awful, like you're like crazy, like punching your husband when you're
Mm,
pregnant because your hormones are crazy. And it's
mm,
like, no, this is like the one time your hormones are normal. So it's
yeah.
really funny. But basically everything you've ever heard, like until you get pregnant, you're like, oh, that was like
Mm.
BS. But I definitely stand my own though, I will say. Like when me and Taylor get in an argument when I'm pregnant,
Oof.
I definitely, because I'm not like emotional about things, like if I feel a certain way in terms of like logically, like I definitely like stick to my guns on like
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, which was very interesting because normally I just wouldn't care. I'd be like, oh, whatever. But like for some reason when I'm pregnant, I'm like, no, that's actually how it is. Like, why? What? Wait, what are you saying? No, that's not. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, no. No. Like, it's really weird. So that's one thing.
Oh
Anyway,
gosh.
but enough about me. It's like same stuff. I'm doing really well. Nothing's really changed that much. What I want to talk about today, and this is a super hot topic that's happening right now in the Netherlands.
Hmm.
Taylor keeps reminding me how happy he is that we're no longer there because of this. And I, in a way, I agree because it makes me nervous. So Josh, do you want to tell us a little bit about, so people can have backstory of what's happening with the Netherlands,
Mm.
the farmers, and what the government is trying to do to the farmers and all of that good stuff, just so we
Hmm.
can get into it?
Yeah. So I mean, basically, what's happening is there's this widespread propaganda that's hitting the EU, and specifically it's hitting Netherlands the most, where farmers have to reduce their livestock numbers by a certain percentage by 2030 in order to keep with the keep with the suggested greenhouse gas emissions target that they've set themselves.
Their
Uh,
climate pledge, so to
their
speak.
climate pledge, yes, and this is heavily influenced. Listen, I'm gonna put this out there straight away. I'm not into politics. I don't know much about it. I pay for my sins, so to speak, sometimes. So I'll go on Twitter and I'll read news and I'll go into, but in general, I try and stay away from it. But this is very close to my heart and stuff that I care about. So that's why I've taken more of an interest than usual in actually going into it. But the president or prime minister of Netherlands, Mark Rutte, I don't know how to say his name. He's basically heavily involved with the World Economic Forum, who are again getting this whole propaganda message through about cutting emissions. It's all the cattle are all the problem, things like that. So essentially, what has happened is farmers have decided to take things into their own hands, and they've started protesting around the country, driving their tractors, blocking off warehousing for big supermarkets like Albert Heijn and Jumbo. So I actually felt the wrath of that a bit, because the other day I couldn't get a lot of my groceries because the
I was going to
supermarket.
ask you about
Yeah,
that.
it
Yeah.
literally, like, I felt affected, but I felt happy at the same time. I'm like, wow, if they're creating this wave, that means that there's something there. Like there's something happening. But essentially,
Wait, hold
it's
on. I wanted to give one
yeah,
context piece to people just so they know as well. The Netherlands is one of the largest meat exporter in Europe.
yeah,
So I just want to mention that as well, that
yeah,
this has been kind of an ongoing thing, and that, there are farmers, people think that farmers, oh, they're making so much money. But at the end of the day, like you have to remember that like a lot of farmers, just because of the shortages and everything in the world, are also, and the inflation, of course, that you've
hmm,
seen around the world, like they are hurting.
yeah,
So to have this climate pledge and this enforcement on top of farmers and ranchers and everything already hurting
hmm,
is just a huge blow, I would say.
yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
a good
continue.
point. No,
Sorry.
it's a good point. And My biggest thing is that why are they not okay, I know why. It's called politics, so I'm not even going to try and be logical here, but
Follow the
the thing
money.
is like the solution is in front of you. It's people, it's the farmers themselves that have the solutions to a lot of the problems out there. And why not look at like what are we importing in Netherlands? Like that's going to be causing far more greenhouse gas emissions than anything that a cow produces. So it's nuts to think that the freshly ground Netherlands beef is causing more harm than the imported tropical banana from Brazil, which flew 2,000 million miles to get you on a freaking plane or a ship or something. It's nuts. It's so silly. And again, it's propaganda. It's driven by the basic narrative that beef are causing more harm than they are the biggest threat to our climate change right now. Basically, that's the narrative. It's like just blanket statement. Beef is the biggest threat, and Netherlands. What does Netherlands do? Netherlands is known as being one of the largest meat exporters in Europe. So we need to change that, and it could ruin them if they even do that. It just could honestly ruin them. That's just so
Europe
silly. Yeah,
as well. Like, so
so
I have a question
silly.
for you. Why haven't they thought, and I mean, I know about all, so as much as I don't want to say this, the greenwashing agenda, the agenda into doing this, there's always that side of things saying, oh, we have this plant-based alternative. We're going to be pushing these plant-based things. You can get everything you need from plant. And there's these huge corporations behind this plant-driven agenda of just getting rid of beef, right? Because they want to make more money. Bill Gates, at the end of the day, is involved in this, of course, somehow. But it's basically like, it's just very hypocritical. And there's always in these big agenda items like this, you always have to follow the money,
Mhm.
right? Like you can't just be like, oh, this huge initiative is happening and it's for the greater good of the world. No, dude, you got to open your eyes. People want to make money. Okay.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think I've spoken about this. I spoke to a farmer in South Africa, Farmer Angus, who owns a regenerative farm. He told me shelf life is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there is money in regenerative farms that provide fresh meat that goes expired every 2 weeks? No.
Nope.
There's only money in little packaged bullshit fucking cereals that last for 4, 5 years, 6 years
Yep.
on the shelf before they even show any signs of giving up. Everything gets traced back to, like you said, follow the money and shelf life. I I've come to the conclusion that shelf life is a reverse proxy for lifespan. So what I mean by this is that if you want to live, you want to live a long time, look at the product you're buying, and the longer the shelf life, the shorter you're gonna die. The
Oh my
shorter the
God,
shelf
that's so true.
the shorter the shelf life,
Yeah.
the longer you're gonna live. So
Oh, I love that.
it's a reverse proxy for lifespan. That's my two
We always,
cents.
and we always, I will say, we always say too, like check the expiration date. Like if you're buying something, even if you don't know what ingredients mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the back of something and it's going to be like, like in a year, in 2 years, you're kind of like,
Hmm.
dude, like, I don't know what those ingredients are doing because I don't know ingredients well. You can always look them up, but like, probably not going to be good for me. Like you want things that are going to expire. Like those are things that are alive. Those are things that have
Hmm.
nutrients in them
Hmm.
that are going to like bring you. But my question, sorry, I meant to bring up the other second ago, but my question is, instead of exporting, right? Because if you're exporting a lot of your meat like they do in the Netherlands, why wouldn't they look to keeping their, and I know this will impact the other countries, but they'll probably just end up upping their production in meat or different livestock. Why don't they just keep it in the Netherlands? Like, why don't they like
yeah.
I'm just curious
Yeah.
why they wouldn't make a law that says you can only export so much amount of beef, like the rest has to be used. And we're actually going to be starting to use more Dutch-based meat, Dutch-based stuff, versus getting it from elsewhere. Because if you were saying if they're exporting beef from Ireland, which we've seen in South America, that's a lot of
Importing, yeah,
emissions,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you're if you're importing
yeah,
beef from
yeah.
Ireland and Peru and South America, that's a lot of emissions. They have to go on a plane, they have to go to a plant, they have to do all this shit. But also, like, if you're then exporting to all these other countries, you're like what you have made, it's also like a huge amount of emissions. So
Yeah,
like
well, it has to be
why wouldn't
refrigerated. Yeah, it has to be
yeah,
refrigerated, and that is the question.
why are they
It's consumerism actually. That's probably a separate issue itself, but it's consumerism. It's exotic. It's the exotic nature of eating New Zealand lamb or Australian beef, or so it's like, I mean, South Africa exports most of its fruits and vegetables, and we import, which is nuts. We
yeah,
import,
I know,
which is crazy. It's one of the most,
because you have everything.
because we've got the most amazing products there, but we export it all because that's where the money's made.
So that's a
Netherlands,
world problem,
it's
basically.
a
Like
world
it's a
problem, but
world
I think
economic
it's
thing.
proliferated with Netherlands because Netherlands is so freaking good at logistics. You know the Dutch. The Dutch
Yeah.
are like logistics and exporting. It's one of the best. It's one of the best operations in the world in terms of efficiency. That's why most
Mhm.
headquarters are here now, because if you've got a product to sell and you want to get it across the world, Netherlands is the place that's going to happen because of how good the
Yeah.
logistics are here. So
So
yeah, that
basically, though, if they're not even looking into that as an actual option, which would actually cut emissions, you have to then think this is not about emissions.
no, no,
And it's not.
no.
It's about making money. It's about those people that are trying to make those policies to help them put more money in their
Yeah.
pockets.
And virtue signaling at the end of the day. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like saying, if we don't do this, we're going to be seen as a country that doesn't care about the environment. No, bullshit. Like, I actually have more respect for countries that stand their ground and sort of think about things a bit before they do anything and rush and do anything. Kind of like when Sweden, when the pandemic started, and I think Sweden, might be Sweden, or I don't know, but
I think it was Denmark. I maybe. Oh, it was
yeah,
Sweden. It was
I think,
Sweden.
yeah, and they sort of just left things. They didn't panic. They were just observing, and yeah, they found out that, hey, it didn't really affect anything. So why must we? Kind of like that, you know. It seems like Netherlands is wanting to be the first movers in this charge now. They really want to make a statement now.
Yeah.
And but the farmers, luckily, so back to the farmers,
Yeah.
have said fuck that. Like 2030, that's 8 years time. No, that's going to completely
And
ruin the
again, with
economy.
inflation, they can
Yeah,
barely afford to keep their farms afloat.
exactly. And that's what, again, we've spoken about this, but that's what's so important, that if you can do it, if you can afford it, try your best to support the local farmers
Yeah.
via service where they get it delivered. I recently released a video on my YouTube channel, from the place that I get. If you want to go watch that, it doesn't have to be that place though. It can be any place, because your support, your direct support, is going to do far more for them than than going to Jumbo or Albert Heijn, because then they don't get the compensation that they deserve. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like a lack of it's like, well, we talk about this, voting with your mouth,
Mm.
right? Like
I love it. I love
you
that.
get to determine, yeah, like you get to determine where your money is going to go. If you can shop local and support locally, I think that's great. If you're continuing to buy your beef from South America and you live in Holland, right? Like that's going to be like, I don't know what good, all we're saying is we don't know what good that's doing when
Mm.
you could literally just go to the local grocery store and get something that is from where you're actually from,
Mm.
or going to like a local farm. But I do think though, like I've just seen so much come out because I still follow so many people from Amsterdam because I used to live there. And I remember going to lunch and sitting down having lunch in our cafeteria with people, and I would be the only one eating meat.
Mm.
and like a even it was just like a piece of like chicken or something, and then like with other things. And like everyone else would have the vegan option, like the pea protein burger or something, or like the pasta or what, I don't know. But my point is that they would look at me, like one of them found out I was carnivore and like literally had like so many questions, and they're like, I'm just doing my part, I'm doing my part for the environment. And I would like then be like,
So
well,
am I.
like for the
So now,
environment, I was like, I would always ask, I was like, is this a moral thing? Like, you just don't want to kill animals? And I would like set them up. And
yeah.
then like, I would be like, oh, well, it's so funny. You know what happens when you're like farming monocrops? Like, you
Mm,
know how many like animals die? But anyways, the
mm,
point is that these farmers are being now shed in a light that's very negative. Like, it's being shed that
mm,
these farmers are the issue because of course the news and everything is on that greenwashing side of the narrative.
mhm.
So I do feel really bad for the farmers because now they're being shown in a light where like they're literally just standing up for what's right, what they believe in, and it's not fair what's happening
Yeah.
to them. But
And
yeah,
the police took it overboard. They shot
yeah,
bullets at
yeah,
young people and like, okay, again, I don't like making assumptions because I wasn't there, so it could have been fuck, could have been some little toy gun or something.
no,
The point
Taylor
being,
told me. Taylor
yeah,
was talking to me about it,
you
and
never
I
know
was
with the
like, no,
media.
they did it.
My point is like you never know with the media. So, but
Yeah,
that just makes them look even like worse because these guys are just doing what they're standing up for what they believe in and their very livelihoods depend on it. Let's not
yeah,
forget that I mean we spoke about in our last episode sacred cow, but y- majority of the world, the third world, uh, literally requires animal based living and food for their livelihoods too. So
yes,
it has an impact on the rest of the world as well. So by just assuming that all meat's bad, you creating this chain of events that ripples throughout the third world as well. And those people more than us need it because they don't have health care and the only nutrients they're getting is from animal based products. So it has a ripple effect on everything basically, and it's not just your first world country. It affects everything because you start traveling to South Africa now, you go on a safari, and then everyone starts going vegan. The locals there that cultivate the beef that have been doing that for hundreds of years start not getting any income because no one's eating beef anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? So this,
yeah.
like
It has,
the tourist industry, it has a ripple effect on everything, and it
yeah. If
is.
you're in a third world country, you don't have the option. Let's say you're coming from a really poor background in a third world country and you get some money and you go to the store. You're not going to be eating pea protein burgers, right? That's not even a thought, right?
Mm,
You're trying to get the beef, you're trying to get the chicken, you're trying to get the pork, you're trying to get the nutrients that's going to like last you,
yeah.
and that that, hey, I don't know what I'm eating next. This is
Mm,
going to last me the longest. This is going to be what I need to get the nutrients I need.
yeah.
You have to remember too, Josh, and I hate saying this because it's so true, but there's no money in healthy people,
Mm,
right? Their only money comes from sick people, which is so just like, especially here in like the US with the pharmaceutical industry. But like, it's almost like the big food. No, it's not almost like, it is like that the big food and big pharma like work together. It's like,
mm,
okay, I can make the most profit by putting out the shittiest, most um like less amount of nutrients ever. This is then going to cause for people to have more mental illness, more issues, not get the proper nutrition. Okay, then they're going to come to you guys and they're going to want more like, anti-anxiety, antidepressant
mm,
because they're not getting the nutrients they need. It's like feeding each other,
mm.
and it's just so messed up.
Yeah.
It's so messed up.
It does. It feeds each other. I think it fits perfectly. It just fits when once you in that perpetual cycle of being sick, eating shit, being sick, it's very hard to get out of it. But we are here to tell you that you can. There,
Yeah.
you can get out of the cycle, and it's not easy. but it's so liberating, like, because once you get out and you observe it from, you realize how fucked the system is.
Yeah. Like you realize how no one, I just realized how no one gave a fuck about me. Like maybe on like a very like, it's kind of goes back to that thing when you go to a doctor here in America and they say, oh, I'll put you on this drug before asking any questions into your diet, your lifestyle. What are you doing on your own to make yourself better? Are you getting enough nutrients? Should we see how many nutrients you're getting? Are you deficient in things? No, I'm just going to put you on an antidepressant. And I have had like anti-anxiety pills given to me that are like, and mostly used for like flying. But like, it's like, no one was like, hey, you can do meditation before you go. Or you can try doing this, you know, like it's very single. It's just giving a pill, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the relationship is like, here's a pill for that.
Yeah. It's the easiest thing to do now. It's and shame. I do feel for a lot of doctors because I think they're overwhelmed and overrun, and they don't have time to. They don't. It's not an excuse, but they don't have time to read up on the latest studies on the carnivore diets and low carb diets, and they're just so entrenched in their own livelihoods that they just. But I mean, you should do no harm first. You know, that's the code of a doctor. So your everything has a price, and those quick fix medicines are doing something, but it has a price. It definitely has a price to it. Like, it may work and it may be temporary. I'm not doubting that. I think modern medicine is amazing, but long term, it's going to do something to you. So long term, the only thing you can do is take control of your diet and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what happens when you have really bad anxiety and depression and then you get pregnant? This is a good example. And you can't take anything. What happens when
Well, I'm
you
sure some
rely on
people do.
something?
I'm sure some
Well,
people
yeah,
just say fuck it and just actually take it, and then who knows what. Yeah.
who
So,
knows what? But all I'm saying is that there are going to be situations, especially as a woman, if you do want to have kids, right? Where like you're going to have to, you know, not take that stuff and you're going to have to be strong on your own and get to the point where you feel confident, you know, not having to rely on something because, you know, you're worried about the future of your kid or what have you. But I do think though, the pharmaceutical thing is so interesting because now they're doing studies on fish where they are finding that fish are actually testing positive for having certain chemicals in them that come directly from pharmaceuticals. And I was like,
jeez.
oh my God, because if you think about it, what happens is you pee them out into
Yeah.
the toilet.
Yeah.
And then those eventually get filtered into like the oceans and stuff. And so now they're finding, it's like now they're finding microplastics in people's blood. They're finding pharmaceuticals in fish. And then they're also finding levels of glyphosate in people's pee. And people like don't think like, it's just like, shit's happening, man. Like, like
But I
things are
mean,
not going
I
well.
can
You
take
got
a
to be
drug.
aware.
Yeah, I can take a drug for that, can't I? Hey, I can just. I'm sure some drug will sort me out. But that's the that's the narrative. Hey, it's like people sort of expect these experts to give them something that will take care of that. You know, hospitals are seen as this institution that you can just rely on, and I don't think you can. I think for certain cases like your arm's been cut off, your leg's broken, surgery, that's good, like cool. But
Yeah.
for
Need that.
acute things and chronic problems, it's probably best you look somewhere else. Obviously, I'm not a doctor and I don't pretend to be one, but it's probably best you consult with maybe a doctor that is integrative, and
Functional,
he
a
or
functional
she,
doctor.
yeah,
Yeah.
he or she looks at a variety of things, and maybe they wean you onto something, wean you off it, but it's never just as simple as giving you a pill or yeah,
No,
because
totally.
fuck, yeah.
No, I know. It's just such a gnarly, it's just such a gnarly thing. And there are people that'll be like, oh yeah, well, like, this helped me. And it's like, I'm sure it did. We're not saying it doesn't, but
Yeah.
there's so many other things that maybe people don't know about that can also help.
Mm.
Um, for that thing. I mean, I think for you, you had like a bunch of stuff going on, but before Carnivore, like I I was at the point where I was going to like stomach specialists
Mm.
and they were going to do like a colonoscopy and potentially a biopsy to see what was going on with my gut because I was taking Tums every night and I was just in constant pain with my stomach.
Sure. And that's literally blocking the acid in your stomach, which is the
Yeah,
thing you need
you need.
most on
Yeah,
carnivore, especially because you're
yeah.
digesting meats. You digesting a yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree
So
more.
it's weird though because like then you think about that and you're like, well, what else? Because you see of all these people that go off of all these drugs and have things reversed, and it's astounding and it's kind of scary. It's almost
Mm.
like shocking.
Yeah,
But
yeah. That's crazy. Wow. Um, I was gonna say I recently I went to Croatia for a couple of days.
yeah,
Yeah. And that was super, super fun. But my big takeaway from there was, and I think Amber Hearn actually said this, but people assume the Mediterranean diet is this diet of like whole grains and fish, and wrong. Actual Mediterranean diet looks more
yeah.
like uh, meat. Okay, you've got like good quality bread, but it's a lot of like processed meats, cured meats. That's probably a better way to describe it. Cured meats,
Yeah.
um, bread, seafood, things like that. But it blew my mind because Croatia, most places that I went to was very accommodating to a carnivore. So if you're traveling Europe, you assume that it's very hard to stick to your diet, but it was actually pretty easy.
I have a
Yeah,
question for you about Croatians. Are
yeah,
Croatians, on average, would you say, did you see a lot of overweight people?
no.
I always ask that
I saw
because
a few on the beach, but I don't even know if they were Croatians. I think they were probably on holiday. But
tourists,
in
Americans.
general, no. In general, very tall, muscular, good-looking people. Basically, that's what a typical Croatian I would describe as. But I found that really interesting. Again, like just linking up everything we've been speaking about, the propaganda
Yeah,
and things like that. Oh, the Mediterranean diet, blue zones. No, cured meats specifically. Lots of cured meats. I enjoyed eggs every day. Okay, we had our own apartment, but I was cooking eggs, putting some like salami and things in there. It was great. I had a good time,
I
and I
did
ate
see
some
one
bread.
photo, by the way. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So I
ate
wanted to
some.
ask you about this. The bread in Europe, I just want to tell you, like, I could eat bread in Europe, no problem,
Yeah,
no issues because of how it's processed and how they're allowed to process it.
mm,
Here in America, no.
it's like
Like,
not even
unless it's
bread.
like gluten-free organic shit,
Yeah,
it's like poison,
yeah.
literally. But tell me about what you had that was bread.
Well, I will just say that that it's the worst I've eaten in consecutive days for over 3 years. I would say. Well, since I
Wow.
started,
Okay.
yeah. So it
Okay.
was pretty bad. We arrived on the Thursday. I had like bread in the evening. The second day we went out. I was drinking wine, drinking some vodka. So I got pretty drunk
Oh,
as well for the first time in a long time. So naturally, when you're drinking, I mean, listen, you need some carbs when you're drinking. I don't care who
I
you are,
do.
but
Yeah.
I cannot drink without carbs. Otherwise, things start going very south very quickly.
Fun Josh comes out.
Exactly. So, I just enjoyed myself, but I must be honest, I felt the wrath when I got back. I didn't, my body was like, hey, you've been doing some shit. Like, let's, let's get back to baseline. Um, but it was a great experience, and I'm glad I got to do that. But I'm also, every time that happens, I just miss my routine. I miss eating the way I do, and I think it's just a testament to the way we've been living for so long now. So I know
Oh
you've had similar experiences, hey, with going to like a festival or
yeah.
something like that. Like, so everyone can agree.
I mean, yeah, my biggest thing is that I'm just dumb. Like, honestly, I'm just stupid. Like, after I eat
Yeah.
gluten and I'm exposed to so many different things, like sugar and whatever is in there, but I'm literally like, I'm dumb. Like, and that's my biggest thing is like, I don't like, and I'm like, no wonder why there's like so many mentally disturbed people. It's
Mm,
just like, I
mm,
am mentally disturbed when I go through like 3 days of eating like shit.
mm,
Like,
mm.
people do this every day. Like, I can't even imagine how I would feel,
Yeah,
not
it's
even
so.
like the dumb part, but I'm
Mm,
saying like just not feeling good. Cause I
yeah,
definitely like don't feel like myself. Like, I feel very off and like
yeah,
weird.
yeah. People are so sick that it's become normal. But once you, I swear, like once you've tasted the the sort of essence of what it is to be in like a state of, let's just say, ketosis or being animal based, it's so hard to go back. It's so
Yeah.
difficult. It's like you've tasted this thing, this free thing that you've been doing that's given you all of this energy and vitality, and now when you start going back to your old ways, it's taken away from you. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about self empowerment or transformation, is that once you've experienced something, it's super hard to go back to the way things were. Do you know what I'm
Once
saying?
you've experienced something powerful is what
Powerful.
you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, I totally agree. And like the hardest thing right now is that if there's an overwhelming smell in my kitchen, like I told you about the eggs, because that gets pretty overwhelming when you cook them in the kitchen. I'm like gonna throw up now just thinking about this, but Taylor cooked us 2 steaks last night and I had to sit outside the whole time. And these are ribeyes, something I absolutely love.
Yeah. Yeah.
For I'm getting a little saliva buildup right
Okay.
now. For
Stay with
whatever
us. Stay
reason,
with
I
us.
know, for whatever reason, when we cook something that's overwhelming in terms of like smell in our house, it just really grosses me out. Like, I cannot sit down now and eat a 10-ounce steak.
Mhm.
Like, I can't, even if it's an amazing ribeye, even if it's cooked perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird, but I can't. It is like the
Mm,
most frustrating thing probably about this whole thing, because all I want to eat is steak,
mm,
and then I'll get one and I'll eat like maybe half,
mm.
and then I'll just be like, it's just too much of one thing.
Yeah.
And it's not that my body's like craving other things. It's just literally my body's like I'm kind of like, oh, like I'll have a burger patty and then I'll be like, okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
What is there, a hot dog? Is there like something else?
And
Like, do you know what I
you
mean?
were so used to sort of like having a big meal and having that full you for like what, 10 hours, and now it's
Yeah.
kind of like these smaller meals over
Yeah,
a
and like
period of.
weird things gross
Yeah.
me out. Like, it's so, and it's like
Yeah.
when they're cooked in my house, it's worse. And it just bums me out because like now is the time where like I really just want to be eating steak.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to overcomplicate things. I want to take 8 minutes and maybe cook 2 steaks and have dinner and call it a night. And now I'm like, oh, so now I want like a a different type of meat.
Yeah.
And I want like sauerkraut with it, and then something, because remember my digestion is like
Mm,
all weird, and then I'm starting my day with carbs,
mm,
and then the carbs back you up more because you're
mm,
not sticking to carnivore, and then you're like, okay, like when am I gonna,
yeah.
anyway. But it's just one of those weird things that's like the weirdest thing I think recently that I thought was gonna be um like back to normal. And remember, like, this didn't start till like I was 10 weeks pregnant.
Hmm.
So like I was eating a steak a day, eggs a day, like carnivore fully, no problem. And then all of a sudden it's like, so we'll see. I hope it goes away like really soon.
Yeah,
But I think
it
that's
might
like,
just have the same. It might just be one day you just like you might not see it coming. You might just be like, "Ooh, I feel like a steak," and oh wow, I ate the whole steak. Cool.
yeah,
It's one of those situations.
ground beef tends to be what is my go-to right now,
That's interesting. That's
which is
interesting.
before was
Yeah.
never my go-to.
I
So,
have heard. I mean, specifically for my mom, who's now quite a long term carnivore in her late 60s, no, early 60s. But she prefers ground beef at night specifically because it helps with her digestion. She can't eat a big
interesting.
steak. She actually much prefers the ground beef. So I think there could be something to that for anyone who's listening and like yourself. Like if you're struggling with digestion, maybe ground beef's the way to go for a period of time because the steak is maybe just a bit too
Yeah.
hard to digest. You know, your stomach
And now I
acid.
have to make deviled eggs in order to eat them.
Ah, yeah,
So like that's kind of funny. So I'm now like taking a really long time to make eggs because I'm
yeah.
like boiling them and then like
I've been
cutting them up and then
I've been
mixing
doing
them
that a
with
lot
stuff.
now as well. I've been
I love
really
them.
enjoying like soft boiled eggs, which I never used to
Yeah.
have, but I don't know where it's come from.
There's no smell. The smell's not as bad. So
Yeah,
that's like for me, like the smell just kind of is like,
and it fills you up. I find
yeah,
quicker. So normally I can eat like 8 eggs if they scrambled. Like I'll just gobble up 8 eggs like it's nothing. If it's a boiled egg, I eat one and I'm like,
it's a
damn, like
process.
I'm full. Like it was one egg. I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? I'm
Wait,
full.
that is really weird now that I
It
think
is
about it. Do you
strange. I
think some of
promise
the
you.
fat is cooked out of it when it's not boiled because it's not
No, I
kept in the
don't know.
shell or
Hey,
something? I
it's a
mean,
good question.
I'm not against it, but like literally, like I told you on planes, like I always have boiled eggs with me and everyone wants to kill me
Yeah.
because I'll crack them open and they'll be like, no fucking way. Does this girl, I'm like, like breaking on the
Right.
thing. But I do love like in Norway when we visited, it was literally like you'd have what they'd eat for breakfast is fresh Norwegian salmon, like lox.
Mm,
I still love lox in the morning. And then like you'd have like two deviled eggs, or sorry,
mm.
two hard boiled eggs
Yeah.
for breakfast.
Yeah.
And that would like fill you up. And like usually they'll have like toast or something with it. But like I feel like that's not too bad in terms of like what nutrients you're getting. Like, yeah, maybe you won't use the bread,
Mm.
but like the boiled eggs and the lox, like I eat tons of lox right now, which some of my friends are like, you're eating lox in the morning and you're pregnant. Like, I think I would throw up immediately. And I was like, I guess, like, I don't
You've
know,
just
maybe.
reversed
I know.
the throwing up paradigm there. Yeah.
Oh, totally. But I want burgers like all the time. Like if I could have like just burger meat, because for some
Yeah.
reason it's less, I don't know, dude.
Have you
It's
tried that
weird.
in the morning? Have you tried the burger meat in the morning instead of the
I
steak?
have not. I think what I'm gonna start with is maybe boiled eggs. I think I'm gonna try to just like tomorrow, instead of like if I feel sick, I'm just gonna have a boiled egg and I'm
Yeah.
gonna see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, let me know.
I hope I don't throw up everywhere, but
Just send me a thumbs up or a thumbs down tomorrow on just emoji, and
in the
then I'll know.
morning,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll send you a throw up one or not.
Okay. Well, you can do that.
But yeah, boiled eggs might be like my my thing during
Okay.
this pregnancy, I guess. Because I feel like I need more stuff.
Mm.
Like I just feel like I need more nutrients
Yeah.
or more
Well,
amount. Sorry,
listen to the
bigger
body.
quantities. Like
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm so used to big quantities. So like when I
Mm.
don't get big quantities. But anyway, we do have, by the way, I did have my Dutch friend who was in town for
Mm.
like he was in town for a week and then he went to Portland for a week.
Mm.
So he was here and kind of funny, but like I cannot do cologne.
Yeah.
I cannot stand cologne. Like even before being pregnant, we pick him up from the airport and he gets in our car and guess what he smells like?
Just a big old waff of something.
Cologne and cigarettes because I forgot he smoked.
Oh no.
And so I'm in the car and we have to go on like the main, highway, right? Like the freeway.
Mhm.
And so you can't really roll down the windows, but like I had the windows rolled down like up into the point where Taylor like had to tell me to close them, you know? And I'm just and then he was here and basically one morning I woke up and I just woke up to it came through the air vents because we sleep with the air conditioning on.
Mhm.
He would spray himself 8 times every morning. So the first time he was staying with us
Jeez.
and he sprayed himself, it woke me up in the morning and I just wanted to throw up everywhere because it came into the air vents because it circulates. I had to go up to him and I'm sorry, Jan, if you're listening, but I had to go up to him and ask really nicely and say, hey, like I can't have you using cologne in our house. Like I straight up just had to say, like, I get really sick. Like I can't, it physically just like messes me up.
And this is before pregnancy as well, right?
This is before pregnancy as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have been as bad, but when I'm pregnant and
No,
it's
it's
in the
like
morning, like
worse. Yeah.
it's like worse. But
Yeah.
it was the funniest thing. But I'm still trying to get the smell of cologne out of my guest bathroom.
Oh my word. Jeez.
So
Stuff is
to
strong.
anyone that uses cologne or perfume, just know that like not even for other people. I mean, good God, don't spray yourself 8 times. Like if you have to put something, put it on your wrists and maybe go like this and then be done.
Yeah.
But like just know that like if you spray yourself with a lot of cologne or like perfume, anything that you think you can't smell, like it's like tenfold for people that are like around you. So
Yeah.
like just a heads up, like
Yeah.
especially for like college students going into like a classroom or like high
Mhm.
school. Like I remember the girls would just like douse themselves and you'd be stuck in a classroom. But all I'm saying is that they're endocrine disruptors. They really mess with your body and your system.
Mhm.
And they're also like just they're full of chemicals that really mess you up.
Yeah.
And can mess with your hormones as well.
Yeah.
So just a heads up. Not even for me, but just for like yourself. Like probably toss your perfume.
Yeah.
Um,
Think about others before dosing yourself with a shitload of cologne. Yeah.
oh my God. But yeah, anyways, he took it really well. But like I'm just letting you know I'm still getting out the smell. So yeah.
Cool. Well, that was super fun. Anything else you want to bring up on today's episode?
No, I think that if people want to look into what's going on in the Netherlands, if this was going on in my country, I would definitely be freaking out and I would be very vocal about it. So, just look into it because it
Mm.
is a scary thought. This could also happen to your country,
Yeah.
especially if you live in Europe. But
That's why
yeah,
you guys
everyone
have
like
that's
and
why you guys have guns. So there we go. Guns for a reason.
lots of guns. Lots of guns. So they can't take away our beef.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, definitely like and subscribe to this episode. Make sure to listen to our Sacred Cow episode, which we already released last. That's also going into a lot. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll come out with another episode very soon.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.